Right, it's Sharada's birthday today, so I won't be making a more involved video. I'm just going to do a webcam video this morning, but I wanted to talk about diabetes. Now, diabetes is the name of two completely separate diseases. There's diabetes insipidus and diabetes mellitus. Diabetes insipidus is a rare disease which is to do with not being able to control the loss of fluid from your body. And diabetes mellitus is a disease which is to do with not being able to control the movement of glucose in and out of your cells. Now, cells need glucose for energy. Your whole body runs on glucose. It will start running on fats if the glucose runs out, but that's not a desirable situation. What happens with diabetes is that the hormone, insulin, which normally controls the release of sugar or the storage of sugar, breaks down and it doesn't work properly. Now, this can happen for two reasons. Insulin is produced by the pancreas, and the pancreas is sometimes attacked by the immune system. This is type 1 diabetes. If that happens, the islets of Langerhans, which are the cells that produce insulin, will be destroyed, and there is no way you can actually get it to produce more insulin. And then the person who's suffering from that will need injections. This usually happens because of a specific immune system problem, although it can also happen for other reasons. For example, cystic fibrosis can cause it because there will be a backup of digestive juices in the pancreas, and that will start to destroy the cells that produce insulin. So that's the first type, and it shouldn't be confused with the second type, although they can occur together. The second type is where your body loses sensitivity to insulin, so you end up with a relative insulin deficiency. Because insulin is a protein, in the first case it has to be injected. If it was taken by mouth, it would be digested. With the second type, there are various approaches to it, such as the biguanides and the sulfonylureas, which are oral drugs, and also there is a herbal approach which involves taking herbs which tend to be sweet, which will tend to lower the blood sugar. That can't be taken with the first type of diabetes. The effects of diabetes are there is more sugar in the blood, and because there's more sugar in the blood, the kidneys will try to excrete it, so there is constant urination. Or there is a lot of urination, which is the connection with diabetes insipidus. That means that the person is also very thirsty, and they are also very low in energy and always tired, and they will tend to lose weight because the glucose is not being used. It's been described as starvation in the midst of plenty. There are a lot of complications, and I could go into those, but this is going to be a very short video, so I'm not going to talk about those. I am, however, going to talk about the effect that diabetes diagnosis has on people. If you've had type 2, in a way it's more dangerous, because if you've got type 2, it creeps up on you and does a lot of damage before you know you've got it. If you've got type 1, you've got a dramatic effect where you perhaps go into a coma or something. And so it gets treated much more quickly. It's not kill or cure exactly, but it's kill or treat it. And so, in a way, type 2, which tends to be in older people, is more harmful, even though it appears to be less serious. There is no way you should ever regard diabetes as a non-serious disease. But something that interests me about diabetes is that everyone I know who has been diagnosed with diabetes has found it a positive experience, because they finally found out what's wrong with them. They no longer feel run down and low on energy, and they're getting their problem dealt with. And I think that's why it is, but it might also be because they realize that life is short and they are going to put them as much effort into it as possible. I've noticed it. I don't know what it's about, but that's what happens, I think, in most of the people I can think of who've got it. There is an issue with type 1 diabetes and school children which really makes my blood boil, and that is that they often have their pens taken off them for the insulin, and they won't be treated by teachers. And as far as I'm concerned, forget all the other stuff about home ed. That in itself is a reason for home educating, because you need to boycott the schools until they get that sorted. However, I realise that's not realistic, because people won't do that, because people put up with things that they should never put up with. So I think that's what I'm going to say today. Oh, there is one more thing, which is that diabetes epistemologically forms a very central part of medicine when you learn it. And if you learn from diabetes outwards, basically, because it's such a complicated situation and it's got so many connections, so many complications and other things, you can basically learn diabetes as a sort of network, conceptual network. And then if you take that out, you've just got these few fringe bits of medicine which you need to cover. And I think that's really interesting. And it's a good strategy if you want to learn about medicine in general, to learn about diabetes, go into it in great depth, and then just learn the other bits. Because that's you're much more able to mind map from that perspective. So that's what I was going to say today. If you like this video, please rate, comment, share, and subscribe. If you dislike it, please tell me why so I can improve. And I'll see you tomorrow.